there, welcome. This is the Kelly's Astrology podcast, where you can find insight, guidance, and understanding through astrology. I'm Kelly, and I'll be your host. Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Kelly's Astrology podcast. Today, we're going to take a look at the astrology of the week starting May 11. I'm going to focus on the planet Mercury, which is all about communication. And the reason I'm doing that is there are two things going on with Mercury this week that really caught my attention. First up, Mercury will change signs. Mercury is going to move into the Earth sign of Taurus, and that happens on Wednesday, May 15. It'll be May 16 if you're in Australia. So midweek, middle of the month, Mercury is changing signs. And this is really exciting because for the last 2 months, Mercury has been moving through the zodiac sign of Aries. Mercury normally only spends about 3 weeks in a zodiac sign. So when Mercury spends 2 months in one sign, it's a lot. And part of that, of course, is because Mercury had its most recent retrograde in Aries. So Mercury is going to spend a more typical approximately 3 weeks in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is a neutral kind of sign for Mercury. Mercury doesn't have any special features. It's not in rulership or exaltation or detriment or fall in the sign of Taurus. So the reason I'm looking forward to it is not so much because of the sign-based factor for Mercury, but for a couple of other reasons. I'm looking forward to it first and foremost because having Mercury spend 2 months in any one sign is a lot. So Mercury has been in Aries since March 11. So I'm just happy to change that communication vibe. And I'm going to say a little bit more about Mercury in Aries specifically in a minute. I'm also happy because even though Mercury doesn't have a special level of dignity in terms of the sign connection in Taurus, I am looking forward to having Mercury in a sign ruled by Venus, one of our benefic planets, rather than Mercury being in a sign ruled by Mars, which is one of our malefic planets. Now, as I talk about that idea of benefic versus malefic, I don't want you to get too simplistic and fall into a common trap of thinking that this is a simplistic good versus bad. There's a lot more than that going on with Venus versus Mars or benefic versus malefic. Venus is a planet that is interested in cohesion, in agreement, and in unity. And so for the next 3 weeks, Mercury is kind of inclined towards some of those Venusian traits and tendencies. Mercury is going to help with communication, for instance, that is more about finding connection while it moves through the sign of Taurus. And that can really be helpful for things like negotiation, communication, and for just our interactions in general. Mercury in Taurus is definitely more of a cool, calm energy for the mind. Mercury is also a planet of the mind. And I don't know about you, but given the choice, I'm definitely going to opt for a calm, soothed mind given the choice. You know, Mercury being in Taurus, there is sort of a soothing, calming, slowing, which allows us to get out of some of that racing, frantic mental energy. The past couple of months where Mercury has been in Aries ruled by Mars, that has brought some heat and some agitation, like an unsettled or a lack of calm quality into the mind and around communication matters. So even though Aries is a sign that's got some amazing traits, I have noticed that Mercury in Aries, because it's Mercury ruled by Mars, we do get this real sort of questioning, maybe overactive mental energy that is sometimes like reactive and really hard to calm down and soothe, basically. So Mercury in Aries might have brought some clarity. That's actually one thing that fire signs or, Aries can bring. And Mercury in Aries may have been kind of dry, but really matter of fact and very direct in its communication style. But Mercury in Aries can have a little bit of an antagonistic or a contentious quality. It could be a little bit abrasive. So communication and interactive might have felt a bit abrupt or a bit, kind of short and direct. And it's not that I think we should always all agree on everything. Far from it. As anyone who's grown up with a bunch of siblings will know, there's always a lot of opinions around. But I do think that it is easier in general if we navigate our differences from a place of maybe respect or consideration rather than that place of like competition or aggression. So I'm thinking about Mercury in Aries versus Mercury in Taurus and just how Mercury in Taurus has a little bit more ease around working things through, talking things out. Even Mercury in Taurus is a bit more patient with some of that back and forward that's needed to really figure something out. Mercury in Aries was kind of quick, reactive. You've either got it and we figured it out, or, I'm kind of moved on. It didn't quite have, Aries is not a sign that is known for its follow through, for instance. So I just wanted to get into a little bit of Mercury in a sign ruled by Venus versus Mercury in a sign ruled by Mars. And, there's sort of some pros and cons in each, but we're switching in now to that Mercury in Taurus ruled by Venus theme for the next few weeks. And as Mercury changes signs, moving into Taurus, you might notice that the mental energy cools off a bit. Mercury is moving from a hot fire sign into a cool earth sign. So Mercury is less kind of revved up and a little bit more mellow and measured in Taurus. And that can bring that measured, mellow, or even methodical quality into our communications, our connections, our general talking and interactions with others. It can also bring that kind of measured, methodical quality into planning matters and just around managing the many logistics and interactions of daily life. So the first thing that caught my eye about Mercury this week was the sign change. And, it's always a great thing to look forward to when Mercury finally leaves the sign in which it has been retrograde, because we're just getting into more of a normal flow or a typical flow of Mercury now for a little while. The other feature of Mercury that caught my attention this week is an aspect that Mercury will make. So on Friday, May 17, Mercury will make a square aspect to Pluto in Aquarius, and that aspect will form from 2 degrees Taurus across to 2 degrees Aquarius. Before I get into that, I want to let you know that I will be speaking at the NORWAC Astrology Conference at the end of May. You can attend online. There is going to be a variety of speakers presenting over 3 days in Seattle. I'll be giving one of the post-conference workshops, and that is on the business of being an astrologer. And that workshop is going to be live streamed on Monday, May 27th. There are details about NORWAC, about the conference, about my events on my website under the calendar tab. But the best place to register for the conference is via the norwac.net website. So the conference website itself, which is norwac.net. And if you're confused about how to find that, just pop over to my website, kellysastrology.com, go to the calendar tab and just scroll down. You'll see the workshop info there. So I hope to see you either in person in Seattle or online if you're going to join us from somewhere else in the world. I'm especially intrigued by the aspects that planets are making to Pluto in Aquarius right now. Since Pluto is still really settling into Aquarius and we're all still tuning into what this longer transit might mean for each of us individually and also what it might mean for us collectively, I think it's important to pay attention to what emerges when different planets spark off with their aspects with Pluto. So this Mercury square Pluto aspect, which is happening on the 17th, Friday the 17th, it's not the first Mercury aspect to Pluto in Aquarius, and it definitely won't be the last. But it does give us a little bit of a special chance this week to tune in to some of the new questions, the new topics, the new curiosities, the new areas of interest that are going to be worth your ongoing and deep reflection and attention in the months and years to come. A Mercury-Pluto aspect has this intense and investigative quality to it. So that's what Friday the 17th feels like, intense and investigative, as if you're trying to deeply understand a mystery or you want to better understand a problem or a conundrum that you're grappling with in the hopes that by understanding it better, you might be able to figure out either how to solve the problem or how to manage it at the very least. Mercury in aspect to Pluto often makes me think of this quote from Rilke. Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves, like locked rooms and like books that are now written in a very foreign tongue. Do not now seek the answers which cannot be given because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything, live the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer. My two favorite parts of this longer quote is the first part, which you're probably most familiar with. Be patient towards all that is unsolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves. The second part I really love is the phrase where Rilke is saying, live the questions now. What I love about this quote is that it really reminds me to love the wondering, to love that process of questioning, to sort of relish the process of inquiry, and to really get into exploring the possibilities rather than fixating on the answers or obsessing over the supposed kind of right solution. And so, this idea of learning to love the questions themselves with Mercury square Pluto, I think this is really important to contemplate the question that you're grappling with, ruminate on it, reflect, and inquire, like create a process of inquiry with the question. Why is this the thing that I'm really stuck on right now? How do I think knowing this is going to help me? Why am I puzzled by this particular conundrum? What is it about this problem or this issue that really intrigues me? So it's sort of really sitting with the core thing and reflecting on it, engaging with it. And this Mercury square Pluto aspect has so much of that kind of intellectual inquisition or this intellectual examining process in it. And so what I'll offer to you is, to have a think about, is there a topic that you might find yourself obsessed with right now? And may it benefit you to sit with that topic or that theme that you're obsessed with rather than trying to push through or quickly resolve and deal with it. And there's something about tapping into the undercurrents of this longer trend of Pluto in Aquarius that I think we can get to this week by paying attention to what we're curious about, to what we want to obsess over, and to something that we feel like is a problem we want to solve. When we have Mercury in aspect to Pluto, what really Mercury can do is to help Pluto speak or express its stuff. So Mercury is kind of giving that sort of microphone to Pluto in Aquarius and saying, you take the mic, what is it that you want to say? And so even though it's a Mercury square Pluto aspect, and there's a lot we can get into around the mind and transformation and things like that, we're also getting insights and clues as to the topics and themes that the longer Pluto in Aquarius transit is going to call each of our attention towards. So this Friday might be a time where you get an insight into a new area of focus that might occupy your thoughts and attention for months or even years to come. It may be a subject matter that you think, I'm going to give some dedicated time and energy to better understanding. It might be your relationship to technology or your point of view about innovative technology or emerging technologies, and you're grappling with your own sense of ethics around that. So Mercury square Pluto is an aspect that can bring a revelation, like helping you connect with or find a piece of information, even a document, a piece of paperwork, a piece of correspondence that's been missing, that now, once you've uncovered it, is going to change so much. There is a grappling with kind of energy in this Mercury square Pluto aspect because it is a square. So it's not a perfect sense of, oh, I'm interested in this topic and here's the resource I need to help me understand it. We might have to struggle a bit. We might have to negotiate. We might have to deal with some push-pull around how we get to the thing we want to know or the topic we want to explore more deeply. Mercury with Pluto really wants this sort of truthfulness. It wants this depth and this revelatory energy. And Mercury with Pluto wants to hear the truth, no matter how hard it might be to hear or how difficult it might be to acknowledge. Words have power when Mercury and Pluto interact, and there's a lot of persuasive energy in this aspect. Are you trying to perhaps passionately convince someone else of your point of view, or are you being persuaded by the extreme enthusiasm of another person? With Mercury in aspect to Pluto, you might find it helpful to focus on the facts. What does the data show, for instance, rather than get swept up in your personal point of view? So there's a little bit of a data, analytical, intellectual piece to this Mercury square Pluto aspect. Being truthful can be incredibly transformational under a Mercury square Pluto aspect. So if you're trying to shift a kind of stuck situation, be as honest as you can be about your personal stuff, your personal point of view, or your personal situation. And this really applies to our interpersonal dynamics. So, a romantic partner, a friend, a colleague, a coworker, your boss. It's not that you're trying to sort of push people into giving you what you want, but you're trying to be as clear and as transparent as you can about what's really going on for you. So we're bringing some of that truth out. We might be sharing in specific situations with maybe trusted individuals. We might be sharing some of our more private information or about a topic that is a little bit vulnerable to us. So, deep discussions that involve lots of revealing back and forward are quite likely this week, and they may help you arrive at a deeper sense of what's important, both to yourself and to the person that you might be in negotiation or in discussion with. This Mercury square Pluto aspect can also help you connect with topics or themes that you're really interested in and that are deserving of your attention and energy in an ongoing way. So let me know what's on your mind. What kind of things are you grappling with? What are you wanting to explore more? What are you willing to say out loud? What are you wanting to transform under this Mercury square Pluto aspect? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're keen to join a large gathering of astrologers to learn and connect, I hope to see you at NORWAC, either in person or online later this month. Take care, everyone, and I will talk to you again next week.